Greetings, fellow men, Servus Männer, it's Red Pill Germany again, and today I want to present to you my opinion about Germany being in a metastable equilibrium position at the moment. Now, first of all, what does that mean? In physics and chemistry, we often talk about potential surfaces. Now, in these potential curves, we consider the potential energy at a certain location in space. That can be real space or phase space. And that you can imagine like a mountain range with valleys and hilltops and saddle points and so on. Now you can imagine objects that are located on this surface, and depending on whether or not they are on a hilltop or in a little tiny valley, or at the bottom of the global valley, or at the slope of a mountain, they will be in either a stable equilibrium position or an unstable position where they roll down all by themselves. But the most interesting position, the most interesting state is the metastable state. That is a state that looks stable to the outside and nothing is happening, unless a little bit of activation energy or a little spark occurs. Then the system is drastically changing in a very rapid manner. One example is that when you lift up a stone just a little bit so that it comes from a local valley on the slope of the mountain and rolls down. Now, a chemistry example would be that you have a hydrogen-oxygen gas mixture, and a little spark is all that it takes for the gas mixture to detonate. But I'm not talking about gas or stones on a mountainside. I'm talking, of course, about the political situation in Germany and how stable the Merkel regime is at the moment. Now, there are several factors, some old, some very, very new, that I want to present to you that give me at least the impression that things could change very rapidly in Germany. So first I will tell you why I think we are in this metastable situation, and then what these little sparks that will bring us this rapid change could be. So the first and most important point is that still we haven't formed a new government yet, and everybody is frustrated with that. The Jamaica talks failed, the big coalition talks are not really coming along, and it doesn't look like that we will get a government or even start coalition talks before the end of the year. Now, this to Germans is very unsatisfying. We are used to the fact that we have a stable, well-working government. It actually hurts our national pride a little bit. Makes us look like Italy, or worse, Belgium. So not only the political class is nervous, but the average citizen is actually really unhappy about this. And the dissatisfaction with political actors is increasing now. Now, this stalemate situation, this deadlock exists, of course, because nobody wants to have coalition talks with the AfD. Because if that were the case, then a coalition could be found rather easily. The AfD, together with the FDP and Merkel's party CDU and the Bavarian CSU, they could form a strong, good government. And that is what I see at the valley, at the bottom of this potential landscape. But we're not getting there unless we have a little bit of an activation energy. Now, of course, this scenario would only be thinkable without Merkel. That is for sure. The effort that has to be done, the activation energy, the little spark would actually be that the people in Merkel's party, the young people or the more conservative people there, that they would actually kick her out and form a government together with the AfD and form a similar coalition as in Austria. So another factor that brings me to this perception of the political potential landscape, so to speak, is a survey that was conducted among the members of Merkel's party, carried out by the Konrad Adenauer Foundation. That every party in Germany has their foundation, and the CDU's party foundation is called Konrad Adenauer Foundation. Now, among many other things that I could go into, the study asked how the members of the party see the political position of the party. They should rate it from left to right on a scale from 0 to 10. And it turns out that the average member of the CDU sees him or herself to the right of the party line. So that means they perceive the party elites, this little inner circle that defines the policy of the CDU, that they are to the left of the average member, and that now is a big deal. Now you could say that these elites would have the plan to just wait, to just stall for long enough that these conservative old folks would just die, because the average age in the CDU is rather high. But actually you see in this study also that the younger party members, they see themselves and the party both a little more to the left, but the differential is still the same. They see themselves as significantly to the right politically of the general party line. And another interesting fact is that the CDU members, they see the AfD as less right-winged than the average population. And that is also a point hinting at the fact that a coalition between those two parties would not be as crazy as they want us to think right now. So that means if Merkel and her inner circle of loyal followers could be removed from the party, the path would be clear for a coalition between the Liberal Party, the Christian Conservative Party that Angela Merkel turned into the New Green Party, and the AfD. So if I would translate that into my science potential surface diagram again, I would say that where we are at the moment, this metastable valley that you have there with a higher value on the y-axis, on the energy axis, that would be the situation that we have now. We have unvetted, low IQ, uneducated and culturally incompatible migration, and down there in the global minimum of the potential landscape we have a situation with common sense migration policies like the AfD suggests them. And I think it is the global minimum, it is the stable state overall, because as we've seen in the Jamaica talks, the FDP would actually be on board with that for economic reasons, because they see that our economy cannot take these unproductive people anymore. And also the average member of the CDU, CSU would of course be on board with that. It is just the CDU leadership at the moment who still clings on to mass migration. Yeah, and then I would identify this little potential wall that is keeping the system from sliding down the slope and assuming its rightful stable position at the bottom of the potential surface. That I would identify with political correctness and some lingering fears of being called bad names by the media and by our cultural establishment, the EU technocrats and the globalists. It is basically just a bunch of shaming language, and when the point comes that people are more afraid of using public transport in their own hometowns than being called names, then the situation will change very fast. Now, and what are these sparks? What could bring about the activation energy that we need to lift the system over this little tiny local maximum down the slope to the global minimum of the potential landscape? Now that could be a number of things. The first thing that comes to mind is that Austria has done the same thing now. So there is not so much stigma anymore about it when you see that your neighbor to the south has done the same thing and life just goes on. We just see that Austria is starting to implement real policies that we also want here. I described that in my previous video. For example, no more cash to these migrants and sending them back as soon as possible. Now actually that would be more a catalyst, that would be lowering the little potential barrier instead of a spark. Now another thing that could be identified as one of these sparks is the increase of attacks on the indigenous population here in Germany. It is almost as if the xenoi are getting ready, are having a warm-up session for New Year's Eve already. No day goes by without another despicable crime being committed against the indigenous population, and the violence is getting worse and worse every week it seems. Now I should also mention that the economy in Germany is really doing well, and it was doing really well for this entire year, and that is a factor that stabilizes this metastable state actually, that keeps the system from sliding down. Now another mechanism to bring up the activation energy that is needed could be that an inner party rival of Angela Merkel, somebody who has not yet revealed himself to the public, will actually seize this opportunity of instability and organize a coup against Angela Merkel. I would actually say that now is the perfect window of opportunity to get rid of Angela Merkel and seize power within the CDU. Now normally in every political party there is no shortage of young, ambitious people who wanna climb the ladder. So where is the Shark Tank when you need it? Remember that Angela Merkel used a scandal about Helmut Kohl to stab him in the back and become the head of the CDU. Now we would need somebody who does the same thing to her right now, using her weakness at the moment as an opportunity to seize power. Another one of these sparks could be that there was a shift in power in Bavaria's CSU. It seems that Seehofer will finally step back and Söder will become the new strongman of the CSU. And I think he is much more right-winged and open to conservative right-winged ideas and limited migration and deportation policies than Seehofer was. And in the end, it doesn't matter what he thinks himself. He knows if he wants to win the election next year in Bavaria, he has to do that. Now, what is also worth mentioning about the study of the CDU members perceiving themselves to be political to the right of their own party is that this survey has been carried out by the Konrad Adenauer Stiftung from February to April 2015. So that was before autumn of 2015 when the gates were opened. So that means dissatisfaction of the CDU members with their leadership as a result to the opening of the borders is not even factored in that survey yet. I think if you did that survey now, the result would be even more extreme. So in the end, again, it is really hard to say what will happen next, but I am saying if there is any such sparks happening, if the economy tanks now, or if some economic bubble bursts, or that maybe New Year's Eve will be particularly bad this year, like last year, I think a scenario in which Angela Merkel would be kicked out of the CDU becomes more and more likely. The beauty of the thing is that we have the election result already. The leadership would just have to realize that a coalition with the AfD would actually be possible. If not now, then maybe in 4 years or in 2 years when a big coalition fails and we have re-elections. So to sum up, I think the fact that we are at a political deadlock and society is really split on the future course of our country creates a metastable situation in a political sense, and under these circumstances, especially in light of the facts that the average CDU member sees himself politically to the right of Angela Merkel and her party line, and that the Austrians have just shown us how it is done, a future coalition just like we have in Austria is actually not as crazy from my point of view as most of the German media tries to make us believe. So you guys all know that Germans really suck at revolutions and we don't really like to make a big fuss and to riot, but it doesn't take a riot. You can just take the election results that we already have and just start coalition talks. You could do it tomorrow. If our conservative party would just not be as cocked as it is, we could actually have a common sense stable government in Germany tomorrow. So thanks for bearing with me until the end of this little talk and have a great day. Servus, Kameraden.